Beautiful. Well, let's jump back in here. So let's talk about back towards the very beginning. What feedback have you got from early buyers and collectors, and were you surprised by how they wore or used your watches at all?
Yeah, this was maybe like 2 or 3 years in. One person in particular said that they have all these big name brands, Rolex, Omega, some other big stuff. I can't remember the other names. And they said your piece goes in perfectly and like it really belongs in here. And so that really blew me away because, that was kind of the goal that I want to be, in the same conversations as these brands. And so to have somebody say that, it was just like, wow. And so it just made me feel like, okay, I really do have something on my hands. And it was like some motivation to continue to grow and continue to do some things. And so, yeah, that was the biggest compliment. And people wear things all the time, I guess, more so to like, I guess, formal events and things like that. But I do know of people wearing it just out on a casual day and just, even going to the grocery store as well. So it's very versatile. They're very versatile. I guess each collection is a little bit, is different, but because some have like some blackout pieces that really are just you could just draw with sweats, but you could still wear it kind of dressed up. So people wear them with all different types of in all different settings and all different types of outfits, and really just doing how they want to. I guess because I guess it does speak to who you are and whatever your personality is. So whatever you are, whoever you are, you can wear it wherever you want to wear it. So that's a really cool thing to me.
No, fair enough, and that's a really cool because you are right. The design is very easy to slip from under a suit jacket to I'm throwing on my jeans. I'm going to the grocery store, but it's still a really cool conversation piece. I can totally
Yeah.
dig it. With that being said, when I first started this whole watch YouTube channel thing, I was slightly surprised at how many independent kind of watchmakers and some of them are similar, some of them are make it gets convoluted, you know what I mean? But I was
Yeah,
surprised at
yeah,
how many
yeah.
people are trying to do this. But
Oh
your
yeah.
design language is a little bit different than most of these I see. How would you say Verdure Watches fits into its own kind of space and lane in this accessible luxury kind of realm here?
Yeah, so I wanted to so you hear of the homage pieces and everything like that, which is great. But I just wanted to do something totally different. I'm a creative, I like art, so I wanted to have something of my own that you can't really say it looks like this or it looks like that. You may see a little bit of flashes of certain things, but it's still very unique, in its own sense. And so um I just wanted to be totally, different than everybody else. And again, kind of try to carve my own lane into a certain niche of watches. And so that's really kind of how I took it is respect, the brands that came before you, but still trying to be in those conversations. And I don't want to use the word compete, but still, kind of just be in those same conversations of being saying like, okay, this brand belongs around these brands as well. Like somebody told me that one said you remind me of Vacheron Constantine. That's actually my favorite brand.
Okay.
Um, and then someone also said Beauvais and Armstrong. They see some similarities there, some flashes there. So, and those are very well respected brands. And I'm just like, cool. You saying that I'm in there? I'll accept it.
100%.
Yeah,
So I read somewhere that your motto was time spent well. So with
yeah.
that being said, then
Talking about
what beautiful. So what new initiatives, designs, the sustainability, philanthropy are you kind of excited for coming up into the new year then?
So I'm gonna be start using some different materials, and just kind of trying to, I guess do things a little bit differently. Again, time well spent, the motto. Um, it's important, and I try to put that into each design and showing that listen and then having the backstory behind it. Whereas it's not like I rushed through it, I tried to just put something together. I really took my time because this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I love, and I want the consumer to kind of appreciate the passion and the time that was spent into coming out with this to present it to the consumer in the watch industry just to see or to let them know like, hey, this is something that you should take a look at and something that I think you would appreciate and love and have fun with hearing the story behind it and everything that went into it.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, with all that being said, then where do you see Verdure watches in 5 years? Do you plan to move into higher price points, limited edition, collaborations? And I noticed earlier you said you were maybe talking about some in-house movements or developing a movement, maybe.
Yeah, so I'm in talks with someone to try and come up with an in-house movement. That would be really cool, just being that, and it's still a fairly young brand. And if we were to be able to have some kind of in-house movements, I think that would, really raise us up into really that conversation of, okay, there's not many, brands that have, in-house movements. And this brand that's only, let's say in 5 years, 15 years old, they have that already and it's looking good, then this is something really worth taking note of. And so, along with the in-house movements, doing some collaborations, some kind of like some limited edition pieces, really bringing in I guess maybe some different influencers or people in the space that would like to collab and do some things like that to really make it and not just do it like how everyone else is doing it, but doing it like kind of I guess the way that I see how it should be done, and bringing somebody in that is I guess unique and different, just kind of like how Fedora is, and really making it something really cool. And again, moving it on and really being an international brand. You know, um, I was just named top 100 luxury jewelry and watch brand Luxury Lifestyle Awards. This is the second year, and they're an affiliate of the World Luxury Chamber of Commerce. And we were there with Vacheron Constantine. So just being in that elk, in that realm is really something cool, and it's something that is like really pushing us to where I want to be is an internationally known luxury brand. And that's really, and again, obviously moving up in the price points and, doing things like that, but still having that accessible luxury realm as well, to bring the newcomers in as well as the seasoned collector, somebody that is really looking for something super unique and something that not many, if anybody has, doing some one-off pieces, stuff like that. Doing it like that, having some real clients and clientele that want something really one off and that nobody has, and being able to do it all like that too.
Beautiful. Realistically, again, especially being that you're mostly a one-man show, that's super impressive. Congratulations
Thank you.
on the reward. That's amazing. So
Thank you. Appreciate it.
from that position, then, what advice would you give someone wanting to start a watch brand today, and what would you do differently if you were to start now?
Okay, so if I were to give some advice, come up with your styling and design language before you even talk to, a manufacturer. And then also you want to kind of test the waters with someone such as yourself, people that are influencers in the industry and say, hey, listen, this is my idea. These are some of my sketches or whatever. What do you think? Just to get some honest feedback and to see, okay, maybe I could do some changes here or whatever here, because you want to present, you want to, you want to hit the ground running. You want to present something really, quality and good and nice and beautiful as soon as you jump in, because you don't want to, because it's demoralizing when you present something and you don't get good feedback right away. You're like, man, maybe I shouldn't have did this, So you want to be wise in your approach, in starting it, because it is costly, and like I said, it could be demoralizing if the feedback is not what you are expecting. So you want to be strategic and making your alliances early, as well as with your manufacturer. Finding a right manufacturer that's a right fit for you, that will understand what you're trying to communicate, what you're trying to present, and that'll help you. And then also understanding the marketing aspect of it too, because you have to get it out there, it has to be seen. So you gotta have a good plan in terms of your marketing strategies. And I think that that's also what I would do a little bit different. I wasn't really ambitious, maybe a little over ambitious because I just wanted to throw it out there and get it out there because I had, put some feelers out there, showed a lot of people on social media what I had cooking up, and the response to me seemed really good. But when I put it out there, it wasn't received as great as I thought it was from the feedback that I had gotten. And so those are the things that I would have did differently, especially when it comes to the marketing aspect of it, is really getting my marketing budget and the channels that I wanted to push it out, getting that set up properly, and then jumping into it, the right way. So that's really kind of what I would have done a little bit differently, and that's I guess that also goes into the advice that I would give somebody looking into it, getting your ideas, right.
How much would you say with that answer there, which was a very good answer, very inclusive all the way around, but with your degrees in financial and background there, do you think that played a role in how well you were able to push Verdure Watches this quickly? Because if you look at growth rates of like other micro brand to independent watch brands, depending on how you position your numbers, Christopher Ward is probably the only one that pops into my head immediately with the same kind of growth rate you're seeing there over that 12 to 15-year span. It's not a common kind of trajectory. You know what I mean? What do
Yeah.
you think kind of influenced that? Aside from obviously the very different design language. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and early on, I had partnered with a couple people or one person in particular that was helping me kind of get the name out there a little bit, which was great, but also it didn't produce exactly what I thought. But then, to be honest with you, this was kind of like a prophecy that was kind of spoken over my life that I would be in business and that I would travel. So to see it kind of go as quickly as it did, I don't want to sound arrogant, but once I realized that, because it was spoken over my life as a kid, and when I got into it and seeing the bounds that we made in the amount of time, it was like, man, okay, this was kind of already set in stone. And so I would attribute that to God really is just kind of moving it in the way that it has moved. And I guess just me trying to stay the course as best as possible, not getting too high, not getting too low, staying really even keeled and remaining as humble as I possibly can in the process. I think that is really what has allowed it to move to where it has in such, in the amount of time that it has.
So confident yet humble is the key. Is that what I'm picking up from that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. I like it. I like that
Absolutely.
message. Well, with that being
Thank you.
said, what's the biggest kind of business hurdles you faced as an independent watch brand, and how did you kind of overcome them, especially early on compared to how you would handle them now?
So just knowing how to allocate your funds properly, like especially when it comes to marketing, because you got to spend money to make money. And so that's the biggest hurdle I think that all, smaller brands have is the financial and the funding aspect of it. And so understanding that, okay, I got to be really strategic. I don't have 20 million to just throw in marketing. That's not, I don't have that budget. So I have to really be strategic. And sometimes, if you don't need to spend money, you don't need to spend money. Sometimes there are things that can come about where, okay, somebody's throwing you a bone here and let's go. Let's do it. Or something that's not astronomically expensive. Okay, let's do this then. I could see that it will have a bigger return, although it's not, a huge, I'm not spending so much, on the front end. It'll still have a significant return because I'm aligning myself properly with the right people. And so that's really the biggest hurdle is knowing how to allocate your funds, but really knowing how to say you can't agree to everything. Say yes and no, to the right things and knowing how to take it from there.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's still a business. As much as we love the
Yes,
design aspect, there are still livelihoods on the line. So that's completely
correct.
fair. Well, with that being said, then what would you say your most memorable watchmaking moment so far is? The design that didn't make it, a launch that surprised you, a customer reaction that kind of blew you away, maybe?
I would say the comparison to Vacheron Constantine and being with, and then I had somebody say, listen, I was at an event I had your piece on. H. Moser was there. A lot of these huge brands were there, and yours fit right in with them. Like everybody was really gravitating to your piece, along with H. Moser being right there. So that was big for me. But then when it comes to the design aspect, the GMT, that was the most fun design for me because I took so much time with it, and I had somebody that I was working with that was a watchmaker, and I had them kind of giving their input on my designing and stuff like that. They say, "Yo, this is beautiful. Like this is really gonna make some noise." So that was really a big moment for me.
Let's use the GMT as an example, and then we can kind of see if it compares to your other models. But how many kind of versions or takes of this thing did you really go through before you really? Because I'm not gonna lie, again, out of your whole collection, I was looking through it. The Journeyman GMT, the Night Out, and the Azure are probably well the
Yeah,
Elegant Blush too. I'm not gonna lie, that pink is
yeah,
phenomenal. Are probably my favorites. You know what I mean? But that Journeyman is in a league of its own. It really is.
yeah.
How long did it take you to design it? How many iterations did you kind of go through on paper before we're like, this is the one I want? And then how much of that is affected by your manufacturing side? So like if you design something on paper, you're like, this is perfect, this is how I want it. Does it always kind of translate over, or sometimes you have to readjust due to materials and that kind of stuff, cost, whatever?
Yeah, sometimes you do have to make some readjustments, even sometimes where it comes to specs and measurements and things like that. So you do have to kind of work some things out. But with that one, um, I I want to say maybe it took two iterations of it for me to get it down and be like, okay, this is it. Because um, initially I wanted it to have a day date dial at 6, but it didn't work out how I wanted to with the map and everything like that.
Mhm.
And so I just opted to just have the date window. I think that's is at 6 as well. And so that was the only kind of thing that I had to change. Um, in terms of material, so the hour markers are airplane windows.
Oh,
And so, yeah. And
okay.
so I had to, I knew I had to change something inside because inside the initial design was to have clouds inside of the airplane window. But it kind of didn't work out like I wanted to. So I just opted to have just the blue sky look in it. So, but yeah, it only took two times. It took me two times, but it took me maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month. I'd say probably about a month to really get it all set in stone
But okay.
before I hit, yeah. So yeah, that's about how it took.
I'm not gonna lie, man. What got me into watches is so my favorite color is purple. I'm
Okay,
on the hunt for the perfect purple watch. I've done a whole
yeah,
little mini
mine.
series about it. There's amazing ones like the Zenith Defy Zero Gravity Ultraviolet. It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
That doesn't just kind of scratch that itch. But I started trying to design my own perfect purple watch, and then once you start getting into the
okay,
nitty gritty details, indices, fonts, where you're putting the date windows,
yeah,
a lot more convoluted than you really kind of imagine at first. It's a lot
yeah,
more into it. And then I started trying to use Chat GPT to kind of like visualize it, but it didn't understand all of the lingo, and
hmm
really crazy. So being able to pump something out like that in a month is impressive. Would you say that's about your process for your whole line, for roughly all your lines so far? It's been about that quickly, just kind of
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I would say so. Sometimes, like I have one actually that I'm working on now. That would probably taking the longest, maybe a little bit, just slightly less than a month, but it's approaching that. Just because I had a couple of things that I wanted to really just shore up in terms of my design styling for that one. But yeah, I would say about a month. The quickest probably is taking me maybe 2 weeks.
Well,
But yeah, about a month and some change. Yeah, because when I'm locked in, like I'm really locked in, and I could just sit there and jot down some stuff on, some notes or whatever, and then I bring it to life. And to draw it up, it doesn't take too long because when I'm sitting down to draw it, I kind of have the whole idea already set. It's just a matter of putting it down on paper.
so with that being said, then do you just have a whole back catalog of like designs that we've just not seen yet, just like stockpiled, just
Oh yeah.
ready to go?
I have stuff that I can't even find. Like I have so many designs, man. I really, I just love it. It's so much fun to me. And yes, I have a lot in the queue. Yeah.
So in this kind of ballpark realm here, we spoke earlier that you like to draw cartoons. You draw a lot of inspiration from Marvel and that kind of stuff. And I kind of touched on a little bit when we were talking about your perfect watch. Do you design any watches that kind of veer away from the Verdure style design with the way the strap connects there and the very open kind of design language? Do you do anything like I mean, I don't want to say like collab-ish, you know what I mean, with like superheroes and stuff, but like the example I'm thinking of is Citizen did some of the Star Wars watches that were not very on the nose collabs, they were very subtle. Do you have any crazy designs like that, like more towards that Marvel cartoonish realm that you also like to explore and draw in? Have you tried to merge the two together before? How did that
I have not, I didn't even really think of it to really do that just yet. Um, but really what I would probably do is, because I'm a car guy as well, I would try to merge some car stuff into it.
go? Mhm.
Like my grandfather, one of his most, I guess, popular cars that he had was an old Jaguar that had the two gas tanks. Can't remember which one it was. It was an XJ. I can't remember. But to merge kind of that into it, that's what I love, because one day I want to be able to collab with a car company and kind of create their pieces that give to their top clients. So I would love to merge cars and watches together, because to me it's just like a match made in heaven, really. So that's what I want to do eventually, is to get a contract with one of these companies and design for them.
Okay. Is that so?
Yeah.
What's your end goal then? Is it just to be a competitor with Rolex and Vacheron and Omega? Is it to do something like that? Like what I mean, honestly, you've found more success with this than a lot of people trying to do this did already. You know what I mean? And you're only 15 years in. That's still early in a company's lifespan, really.
Right.
What's your now aspiration, since we've already been in those conversations, you know what I mean, that blew your mind? What's our next move then?
Man, next move. The next move I would say is to really be solidified in getting some deals in these boutiques. But I know that that will bring so much more, along with that. And then eventually, I guess, if I could say, my end goal would be to design for a car brand, and kind of have that collaboration where there's a couple brands. I know Aston Martin has I know I'm going to butcher the name, but GP Gerard Perregaux, they have that deal. So really being able to have something like that, then I'll be like, okay, I think we're good, because I just think this is really it right here.
All right. Well, let's think ideal scenario then. Like say that happens. What would be the next venture after watches then? What would be
Ooh. Um, you know what? If I could actually design cars, just because design is my thing, I would do that. That would be the next thing after watches, and you know, collab with somebody that wanted to, have a car brand, but needed a designer. That's where I would be at. Design is just my thing. Design, art, that's just my thing.
I can dig it. I can totally dig it. Do you let's loop back to that a little bit. You said you kind of sketch up cartoons. Do you actively draw like comic strips or anything? Is it like a personal project? Do you have like a comic series maybe or
No, I never really. No, really. I never really thought to do that. That was really. I guess I was young. I was really deep into comics then, because my big cousin, I was really deep into comics, and I would just sit there and sketch, and they thought that I was tracing it, but I'm like, no, like the scale is off. Like you could tell I drew this, and so I really never had the idea to um do that. I was just really, like I said, more into art. Art class was my favorite class, growing up in school. Sometimes I wish I would have went to art school, but also designing clothes. I designed a couple, pieces of clothing. I designed a few pieces of jewelry. I just designed, that's just my thing. I wanted to be an architect as a kid. Like I really wanted to design buildings and do all that type of stuff. And it's just so funny that I'm designing watches now. So I'm kind of like architect of watches. So it kind of full circle thing.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, with all that being said, then do you have, and you did kind of mention it earlier that you wanted to get into jewelry and stuff. I mean, do you eventually want to get into a Vidor, just line clothing, jewelry, and turn it? Because I mean, I did see on your website you do have some jewelry already, so it's not just watches,
Yeah.
correct?
Right.
How much are you looking to expand that aspect of everything. Is watches your main focus, or is it pretty equally distributed amongst those other things as well?
Watches right now is the main focus, but I do have, a couple of sketchbooks of um, the jewelry, and then, just to kind of branch off and go outside of, watches and jewelry, clothing. So I had some sketches of clothing and stuff like that. I drew up some shoes, have like a luxury shoe line, things like that. Even for the ladies, have some bags and stuff like that. I'm telling you, man, I draw everything, whatever comes to mind. I just really like to do everything.
Now, how hard would it be to start to venture into some of that? I'm not sure how all the manufacturing work. And you said that they do a lot of the case, the components, the dial. Could they do bags, clothes, jewelry, or
Nah,
you
you
have
would
to
have to find, yeah, you have to completely pivot and find something else. I found actually a couple people that are willing to work. I had a couple things I just did kind of like some promo stuff, like some hoodies and stuff that I did, and they did it exactly how I wanted it to. So you can find anybody, man. You can find anybody to do anything for you as long as you know how to communicate properly. It can be done.
See, I'll be honest with you. And maybe it's just my own paranoia, but I'm always, even when I order personal watches online and have them come through the mail, I'm always worried I ordered from not the right site and got scammed. I couldn't imagine like trying to, all right, here, let's order 5,000 pieces of this and hope it all comes in. Like that would be
Yeah.
very anxiety ridden. How did you
Oh my goodness.
deal with all that in the beginning, and how confident are you in all of it now? I mean, you sound like now
You
that you've had a great experience. So,
Yeah, you have to request samples. Like that's first and foremost. I need samples. If they can't give you samples, then why would you order, 5,000 pieces of something that you don't even know the quality is going to be? Then you run the risk of them saying, yeah, no refunds. No, I can't do that. I need some samples, a sign of good faith. I'm willing to spend this money with you. So, you should be more than willing to give me some samples. And as long as you have that set, then you should be okay.
100%. And then I was listening to your. It wasn't in your from your brain to your wrist series. I can't remember. It might have been in another interview. But you said you
Okay.
wanted to get into like guilloche dials. Um,
Yeah.
so when you start getting into specialty dials, I know you said your manufacturers do dials. When it comes to stuff,
Yeah.
because most guilloche dials are mostly hand done, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
And just turn. Yeah. Mhm.
How does that affect the jump in price, the jump in timing of getting these pieces? Does that affect the minimum you have to order, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. And the price definitely would jump up just because. But you know what? I would like to uh, eventually learn how to do it on my own, and get a lathe and everything like that, and do it like that because I like to be hands on as much as possible. However, watches are so intricate, so it's a little tough to do that. But that would be something that I would look into, investing in myself and doing it that way, just to, I guess, in a sense, cut the cost down, but again, have a more personal, hands-on experience with it.
That would be really cool. I mean, if you
Yeah,
do arts, you probably have the steady hands for it. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
that'd be a good venture to look into, man. You could
right.
do some, especially with loom and whatnot. Like, what is it? The Christopher Ward C1 Bel Canto. The way that they
Mhm.
put the loom on the inside of the lines, and there it's a guilloche-ish dial. It's not a guilloche dial, but they have these eccentric lines running left and right. And you can barely see them when it's not loomed up, but then when the loom hit, it really pops. You could probably do some craziness. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The sky's the limit, man. That's the beautiful thing about watches is whatever you can think of, it can be done. And then now you have 3D printing, kind of making, sorry,
you're
you
fine.
gotta have 3D printing, um, making its way on the scene, and that really expands everything as well. So you could do so much. There's another brand. I know I'm gonna butcher the name as well, but Health and Reach, I believe. I think they're out of Germany, and they 3D print a lot of their stuff, probably all of their stuff, I believe. And it shows like you can really do a lot of stuff, and so that's just where my mind is. It's kind of pushing the envelope when it comes to using different processes of production, and so that's kind of what I would like to get into as well.
That's interesting because I used to do some 3D printing. And so I mean,
Okay.
and the machine I use can do carbon fiber and TPUs and that kind of stuff. So you could probably I never thought about it. You could probably do some really interesting dial work and stuff like that. what would have you? Well, there's two questions I want to ask. So the first one I'm going to start off with is: have you seen Ming's 3D printed bracelet? And what do you think of going in weird directions like that? Do you think that that's more gimmicky, or do you think that that would be something that you would eventually is going to end up being kind of a staple in the hobby? You know what I mean?
No, you know what? I think that is definitely something doable. Again, if you can come up with the proper design and have it really be aesthetically pleasing, it
Mhm.
can work, And again, it's different. People like different. So I think it definitely could be something.
Fair enough. And then again with the 3D printing and that kind of stuff too, like price wise, when it comes to again kind of manufacturing that kind of stuff, would that be something you would want to do yourself, buy a 3D printer? Because I mean, for realistically, they're not super expensive to buy a large bit 3D printer. I mean, a couple $1,000,
Right,
you could be mass printing those dials yourself if you have the time and design skill, which you do. Um,
right.
how would that affect manufacturing? If you quit ordering dials from your manufacturer, does that kind of skew things with them? How does all that kind of play out? You know what I mean?
You know what? And I guess in my case, I would probably do something like, hey, listen, without telling them that it's me doing it. Let's say, hey, I have a dial manufacturer that I want to use their dials. So I would, work those up my own self and then send them out to them like, hey, here it goes. Just put it together.
Yeah,
You
no, at
know?
that point, definitely that definitely
Yeah.
makes sense. Um, well, I got that 10-minute warning again, so I'll go ahead and ask my final question. I don't want to keep you too long. It looked like your daughter was ready for you. My 6-year-old was at the door earlier too, so I definitely
Yeah.
understand. But when you look down at your wrist and you see a Verdure watch, what do you feel about your brand, your time, and your legacy?
That's a great question. Um, right there, I'm just like, man, it happened, right? Like I was able to take something off the ground, and now I'm looking at the reality, the results of that. And then it tells me, time is truly precious and valuable, and you have to, manage it properly, doing the things that you love, spending it with those that you love, and just really, making sure that your time is used properly and it's allocated properly in all regards. Um, and, this, the legacy is like, you know what? I tried to do something. I had an idea. I tried to do something. It came out and now it's here. It's a reality. And just to continue to push forward, with that, the strength, Bador meaning strength, really continuing to walk in strength and doing it properly, and continue to put one foot in front of the other, put my best foot forward, and really having this as a legacy brand and being that which people can really gravitate to and say, hey, I understand this guy. I understand this brand. I like it. And I want to continue to make Verdure a part of my watch collection ongoing and that of the generation. So
Beautiful. I can dig it. I can be completely honest with you, man. With a lot of the other random watchmakers and stuff I've talked to, you definitely seem a lot more confident and cohesive in all of this. I really
thank
think
you.
that you have the potential to honestly to do this, man. It's
I
phenomenal.
appreciate that. I
I
really
love it.
appreciate that.
No, for sure, man. And I really appreciate you, especially talking about all the design stuff with me. Again, that's really what I'm into in watches. And it made me feel a little bit more confident again about my kind of search for the perfect purple watch there because I was starting to lose kind of faith there a little bit. I'll be honest with you. But I mean, just absolutely phenomenal, man. Um, with that all being said, we probably should go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to use this to probably start my YouTube channel. I'm going to use this as a first
Okay.
form video. I'm
Nice.
going to edit these. Would you like this footage? Do you want the raw footage? Would you like the edited footage?
Yeah.
Like both? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Both. Both is
Oh, cool.
perfect.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
I can send it to that email, the one that I sent. Beautiful.
Yes,
So
sir. Yep.
in the next couple of days or so, this weekend I'm off. I don't have any dog training classes or anything, so I'll try to get that done and I'll get it to you probably Monday then.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Awesome.
I
John,
appreciate you, man.
no, I appreciate you.
Thank you,
You're
man.
wonderful. Please send me those schematics too for that crushed ice watch. I
Yes,
really
I
want to see
got you.
it. Okay.
Definitely will.
Awesome.
Definitely will.
Beautiful. And I told Johnny said hi. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
please do. Please do.
Thank you again, man. I really
Thanks
appreciate
a
it.
lot, man.
Awesome. You have a
Yes, sir.
great
Have a
day.
good
Okay.
one.
You too. Thank you.
Take care.